I knew I didn't belong in their world the moment her father shook my hand like he was checking for dirt under my nails. You fix air conditioners, right? He asked, eyebrow raised, voice wrapped in polite disdain. HVAC design, I replied. I build the systems. Commercial structures, mostly. He blinked like I'd spoken another language. Her mother just sipped her wine and turned to her daughter, my fiancée, like I hadn't said a word. Like I was furniture. That was the night they first called me a disgrace. Not to my face. Not in that word, not yet. But you can feel it. In the questions they don't ask. In the way they speak around you like you're a step behind. It was Thanksgiving. Our first one together. I thought being invited to her parents' estate meant something. Maybe it did. Just not what I hoped. I was the charity case. The stray dog Amanda had decided to rescue. They were old money. The kind that believes wealth is a virtue and marrying outside of it is a sin. Amanda, though, Amanda loved me. Or I thought she did. She stood up to them that night, told her father to stop being condescending, told her mother to actually get to know me. She held my hand in the kitchen afterward and whispered, I'm sorry. You're nothing like what they think. You're more than enough for me. I believed her. When we got engaged, I offered a modest wedding. I had about $25,000 saved for the ceremony, another $10,000 stashed aside for our honeymoon. But Amanda had other plans. It's one day, she said. Just one perfect day. I want something beautiful. That's when her parents stepped in. They offered the family estate as the venue. We'll help with the rest, her mother said, voice sweet as syrup but eyes like steel. As long as it's done properly. What they meant was their way. A 3-day extravaganza, designer everything, imported flowers, champagne fountains, a custom tent that cost more than my first car. The guest list ballooned from 80 to over 300. Distant cousins, business partners, political friends. Not mine, theirs. Every time I expressed concern about the budget, Amanda would hush me. They're paying. Let them have this. Except they weren't. I didn't see the invoices at first. Everything went to Amanda's email. She insisted her parents were footing the bill. Said they didn't want me to worry. Said they were handling it. But 3 weeks before the wedding, I got a call from the event coordinator asking about final payments. What payments? I asked. There was a pause. Mr. Hale, she said gently, your credit card is on file for the balance. Roughly $52,000 remaining. I laughed. Actually laughed. Thought it was a mistake. It wasn't. Amanda admitted it later that night, quiet and defensive. They said it was your wedding too. That you should contribute. And I didn't want to start a fight. You didn't want to start a fight, so you handed them my wallet? I should have walked. Right then. But love makes you rationalize the absurd. I told myself it was just money, that it would all be worth it once we were married. I pulled some investments, took out a line of credit, covered the remaining costs. The wedding was stunning and miserable. Her parents introduced me to guests as Amanda's husband, never by name. Her father gave a toast that didn't mention me once. Just Amanda, her beauty, her future, her legacy. My family sat at the back, 3 tables from the speakers. My mother asked me later why I looked so tense in the photos. I didn't have the heart to tell her that, at that moment. I wasn't sure the woman I'd married even wanted me, or just the idea of a husband who wouldn't challenge her family's grip. Still, I tried. First year of marriage? Not terrible, but full of cracks. Amanda drifted, emotionally distant. She worked late often. I thought it was just adjustment. Normal newlywed turbulence. Her parents, though, never let up. At Christmas, her father cornered me in the kitchen and said, I know you're trying, but Amanda was raised to expect a certain life. You can't give that to her. When I didn't respond, he chuckled and added, it's not your fault. Some men build. Others just fix what breaks. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. In the spring, her mother accidentally forwarded me an email between her and Amanda with a subject line that read, Counseling options. How do we get him to agree without making it a thing? That was the first time I saw the word disgrace. Amanda had written it. I love him, Mom, but sometimes I feel like he's a disgrace to everything you and Dad worked for. He just doesn't understand us. I stared at the screen for 10 minutes before closing it. Didn't mention it. Didn't rage. Just folded the emotion and tucked it somewhere dark. Because I still loved her. Even when she turned cold. Even when she stopped looking me in the eye during dinner. Even when she said things like, I need to be with someone who matches me. It all led to one quiet Thursday afternoon when I got home from work early, and found her laptop open on the kitchen counter. One message. A single line in a chat with a name I didn't recognize. He's paying for everything. Don't worry, after the wedding, we'll be free. I didn't move for a long time. Didn't breathe. Just stared. The love I'd defended. The money I'd spent. The family that had chipped away at my pride. None of it mattered. They never wanted me. But they were about to learn something else. I'm not the kind of man you discard and forget. Not quietly. Not forever. I didn't confront her. Not right away. When I read that message, he's paying for everything. Don't worry, after the wedding, we'll be free. Something inside me broke, but not in the way you might think. There was no yelling. No slammed doors. No dramatic confrontations. There was only clarity. Cold, sharp, final. That night, I held her like everything was fine. I asked about her day, kissed her forehead, listened to her talk about centerpieces and wedding favors and which vintage of wine her father preferred. She had no idea the man sitting across from her was no longer her husband, just the version of me she expected to see, the version she could manage. Behind my smile, I was making lists, calling in favors, quietly preparing my escape. But first, I would pay. Every single cent. I'd make the deposits, cover the vendors, tip the planners, smile in every photo, toast to our future with champagne I couldn't afford. I would give them everything they asked for, and then I'd make them regret it. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't pulling away. It's pulling through. The wedding cost just under $70,000. I kept the exact receipts, transferred funds in small chunks so she wouldn't notice the hit all at once. I sold my motorcycle, liquidated an emergency fund I'd kept since college, maxed out a credit card I swore I'd never touch, all for the perfect day. And it was for her. Amanda glowed in her custom gown, all silk and stardust. Her father strutted around like a king surveying his kingdom. Her mother cried when Amanda walked down the aisle, whispered to me afterward, "You clean up well. Maybe you're not a total embarrassment after all." I smiled. The photographer captured it perfectly, that frozen, pleasant mask of mine. I still see it sometimes when I close my eyes. Fake joy, real pain. At the reception, they toasted Amanda's vision, her refined taste, her eye for quality. No one thanked me. No one mentioned my family, who were seated so far from the head table they might as well have been at another event. My father gave a short, quiet speech. Said he was proud of me. Said love was sacrifice. I almost choked on my drink. But I made it through. The ceremony, the dancing, the photos under that golden hour light. I did it all without flinching. Amanda kissed me that night like a woman who believed she had won. She had no idea the clock had already started. The first 6 months of marriage were a performance. I let her believe everything was normal. I let her parents think they had succeeded. Every visit to their estate, every birthday dinner, every phone call, I played the role they'd cast me in. Humble, quiet, grateful. But behind the scenes, I was documenting everything. That message? I saved it, along with the chat logs. I used a keylogger to capture her laptop activity, not to spy, but to protect myself. Amanda was still talking to the man from before, a colleague from her previous job. They hadn't seen each other since the wedding, but the tone was still intimate. Flirty, too familiar. And her parents? They were the architects of this whole illusion. Her mother once told Amanda, "I saw the message. Marriage isn't about love. It's about aligning yourself with someone who improves your life. He makes things easier. That's his role. Not partner, not soulmate, just an upgrade, a transaction." So I began preparing my counteroffer. I worked with a friend in finance to restructure my accounts, pulled money into a trust, shielded assets, updated my will, got a post-nup drafted, one Amanda signed during a wine-soaked weekend in Napa. She didn't read it. She was too busy posting romantic getaway photos to Instagram. That post-nup, ironclad. She gets nothing if she cheats, nothing if she walks away. It took me almost a year to set the pieces in place. 1 full year of smiling, of lying next to her in bed while she dreamed about a future that didn't include me. I was patient, calculated, kind, even, but not stupid. And then, 1 week before our anniversary, I pulled the pin. We were at her parents' house. Brunch on the veranda. Her father was bragging to a guest about the wedding, how we spared no expense. Amanda nodded, glowing with that familiar smugness. Her mother added, "Well, of course, we handled the finances. We wanted it done right." I waited until the plates were cleared. Then I reached into my bag, pulled out a manila envelope, and slid it across the table. Amanda looked confused. Her father didn't touch it. It's just a copy of the final wedding expenses, I said. Since there seems to be confusion about who paid for what. No one moved. So I itemized everything. I added, my voice calm. Vendor receipts, deposits, service fees. You'll see my name on every transaction. $70,312. Every cent from my account. Amanda paled. Her father muttered, "That's not possible." I thought the same, I said. But numbers don't lie. I stood up. Just thought you'd want a record, since you like things done properly. And then I walked out. Didn't raise my voice. Didn't look back. Amanda followed me to the car, voice cracking. Why would you do that? I looked at her, really looked at her, and said the last honest thing I ever said in that marriage. Because you built a wedding on lies. I just paid for the theater. Amanda didn't come home that night. I didn't ask where she went. By then, the game was already over. See, I didn't drop that envelope just to embarrass her parents. I wasn't after some moment of applause or vindication. No, what I wanted was quiet and final clarity. I wanted them to know exactly what they'd cost me. And I wanted Amanda to see, with perfect precision, that the man they had underestimated was already gone, replaced by someone who didn't need to yell to be heard. The next morning, I filed for divorce. It wasn't explosive, just a stack of papers, a note to Amanda's email, and a couriered copy to her family's estate with a second envelope, the same wedding receipt, now stapled to a single sheet of legal summary. Her parents' names weren't on a single vendor contract. Not one contribution from their bank accounts. The final line at the bottom read, total paid by groom, $70,312. 00. Total paid by bride or bride's family, $0. 00. The receipt became a symbol of silence mistaken for weakness, of generosity mistaken for gullibility, of a man they thought was just lucky to be there, who had actually been holding up the entire stage while they applauded themselves. I heard Amanda cried for hours after opening it. I wasn't there to see it. I'd already moved out. The prenup and postnup made the separation simple. She tried to argue, claimed emotional distress, said I ambushed her with unnecessary cruelty. But my attorney was prepared. The receipts, the digital trail, the chat log she thought I never saw, all admissible. And in the end, she didn't just lose me. She lost the image she'd spent years curating. The social circle, the influence, the illusion. Her parents tried damage control, but their friends started asking questions. I thought you paid for the wedding. Didn't you say he was the one using you? One of their close business partners, who'd once offered to introduce Amanda to someone more suitable, saw the receipt and passed it around his office. A week later, he pulled his investment from her father's venture fund. Turns out, reputation built on fiction collapses fast when the truth gets printed and passed around. But none of that brought me peace. Not really. The truth is, I didn't feel victorious. I felt free. I rented a small place on the other side of the city. Nothing fancy, just quiet. I started cooking again, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I called my mom more. Fixed my dad's old truck. I went back to work on my terms. And slowly, something changed. I began to feel like me again. Not the man they tolerated. Not the version Amanda wanted to present to the world. Just me. Imperfect, self-made. Sometimes stubborn, always trying. There were nights I missed her. Or maybe just the idea of her. The version I'd built in my head. Loyal, brave, honest. But that version was never real. I was in love with a ghost. One day, months later, I ran into Amanda's cousin at the grocery store. She looked uncomfortable, like she didn't know whether to say hello or apologize. "How are you?" she asked. "Better," I said. "Lighter." She hesitated, then said something I'll never forget. "You know, after everything, they still don't get it. Her parents. Amanda, they think you did all this out of spite." I smiled. Then they never knew me at all. Because this wasn't about revenge. This was about memory. About giving them a receipt, not just for the wedding, but for every moment they made me feel small, invisible, unworthy. They thought I was a disgrace. But disgrace is when you exploit kindness and call it weakness. Disgrace is when you mock a man for working hard while you live off his effort. Disgrace is hiding behind status and names and pedigree, while someone else pays your way and thanks you for the privilege. I didn't disgrace their family. I exposed it. The receipt? That was just paper. The real cost was me walking away.